So God, we beseech you, as Benjamin Franklin did when there was disagreement, when there was a constitutional process was breaking down, and he stopped the assembly, and he was not the most religious man. He said, I've lived long enough to see if we don't beseech the God of heaven and invite him in, that tyranny and divisiveness and dark ways come in. And so God, he appealed to George Washington and said, each morning we invite God in with the Psalms 127, unless the Lord builds a house, the house is built in vain. He saw the need for you to be the builder. And you brought that composure because their confidence came in you. Even those that were far off, and the process flourished, and they moved as marvelous comrades. That's Psalms 133. And they hoped in you, and you gave that promise of one, Psalms 132, a land where you were pleased to rest there, to be blessed, to be honored. And so, God, we come to you for what you established, and we just proclaim the freedoms and the reality of what you established for us all over this land that you're going to raise up. Right and the left and others that just say the wisdom is to get on our knees, not create more conflict, disunity, no more dark ways, but God, that there be this seeing of a Good Samaritan nation and Good Samaritans one another. That encounter you gave me, that was the place you want to show yourself as the good God, with the good Samaritan, kind God, wise God. That you had documents that you were going to write for our nation and next part of our history, where there were even more freedoms, more wisdom for the miracle of the United States and the Constitution of the United States. You were the central commander that had the precepts that the war over the nature of you, God, would be won in this nation. And all would be happy and find your virtues as desirable again. It'd be more than based on principles and religion. It'd be based on the person of you, God. So, God, we give the miracles that are to come forth now, God, where the distribution of power is appropriate and it's not stolen away by an enemy that wants to steal, kill, and destroy. That you are the God who raises up and lower kings and you thwart the plans of the evil. God, you are the God that stands against the deist movement in our nation that says God's not alive or he's not involved in our affairs, where you care about the sparrow and the sparrow's head and where it rests. You care about every hair on our head, and that the nearness of you, God, would flood across our country with the freedom of visitations. That by your blood, that you gave visitations to all those who are far off or near, and you change hearts, oh God, in all our hearts. That you break the power of the shut up spirit that says shut up about who God is, shut up about our trust in him. God, we say not through the work and energy of our own hands, we say, God, bring us together with people that will declare who you are together. Bring us together. Send us to those places where it seems dark, far off, but we declare you, and we're standing with the King of Righteousness. God, the USA Bill of Rights that comes from the kingdom of heaven, we stand for that freedom of worship, to really, really not just have religion, not just rote prayer, but the freedom to know you and have intimate prayer with you. That freedom to speak of life, of vision, of your radiant goodness, of redeemed cities and nations, and freedom from violence and tyranny in speech and bullying and the putting down of another's perspective in a destructive way that causes people's reputations to be demolished forever. That is not freedom of speech. God, we ask you for the wisdom in speech that's colored by your grace, oh God. We decree that you're the God of grace and you speak with grace and kindness on your lips. We declare that you're the God who gives visitations of you, and we have the freedom to worship in this nation. We declare there's a freedom of miracles and visitations constantly of your wisdom in this hour, a second Jesus movement with wisdom. We declare that we're going to get to see you and not just hear of you, and that it's for all. We have a freedom of speech, the speech of prayer, of communicating with you openly, with all of our hearts, with all of our dialogue, that hope, there's freedom to speak hope, and freedom to have hope prayer and declare you and declare your ways, and that shut up spirit will be broken and our inalienable right to be intimate with our God, to have vulnerable prayer and communication, to be near you in the public way, to be near you in marveling centers, hope centers that would come forth, freedom to own land and to prosper with their land that it's filled with the presence of you, God. God, this city has other cities that are being hijacked by the enemy. God, you will release your angelic helpers, and you will break the hold, and you will flip this situation where lands are being stolen, and we say, and properties that are set apart for your goodness, your greatness, our God. God, the places where this whole nation is a place where the fairest of 10 million can be here. There's adoration pillars. There's lands that are oases of you. God, there's constant upper rooms all across this nation, that there's brilliant lights all across this nation. God, we say you got a freedom to, you're your first place in the earth. The earth is the Lord's and all that's in it. God, we have freedom to hear you, not to have to just hear bad news or this and that. You have a freedom to break lies. And you said that truth will come and set people free. And we say freedom for truth now. God, in the media that is an opinion, is an agenda versus truth. God, we say freedom for us to get true language, true conservative, or your heart language, God, builds our hearts up. God, freedom to hear you in such a rich way that reflects the nature and the heart of you, that all the days of Samuel, that all through that land, none of the words failed. God, we say freedom to bear spiritual arms. Today, that you would increase our spiritual arms in loving our enemies, in discerning evil and bringing forth wisdom, and prayers that cut off the enemy, and actions that cut off the enemy. Freedom to have the energy to speak in the right places, and to be these hope reformers and bring these hope centers and bring an end to misery Christianity, and a yes to hope and prospering, freedom to have benevolent empires, businesses, freedom to create wealth that is not limited by government intrusions with too high taxes or policies that are impossible to get over. We say, God, there's freedom to be childlike and to build in this land. And we say, God, it's you and your nature And so we say, God, we declare these freedoms of personal blessing with wealth and health and with health care that's not costing us tons and a word of a system, but through you that our health is preserved. Through you, you show us where to and how to just continue to grow and flourish in our bodies and our minds. God, you have the freedom to, in so many ways, to get us to prosper, body, soul, and spirit. Freedom to have fun, to enjoy the jacuzzi down here, to enjoy just the times of just hearing you and seeing you, and have front porch ministries, just loving to be together, loving to hear you together, and loving to see you above it all. It's our freedoms, our God. We say there's a freedom of true learning. That we're not just reacting to the times, but we're learning and advancing a deep insight and creativity, insight, genius, and productivity that just fills the earth with new inventions, new ways of doing things that are better. So Lord, we thank you that you would bring us forth in these next 90 days with the freedom to proclaim the God of the trump card that trumps evil, and then the God who is the builder that builds and moves us forward. We will continue to proclaim these freedoms of our God and get deeper and deeper understanding. Freedom to go on a great adventure and oppose evil with love. Freedom to have that love magnified in us. Freedom for the messengers to say what you're saying, our God. Freedom for the elderly to sow into the younger ones and mentor them and then be received and respected. The freedom to be respected in this nation. God, you respect us. And so we just agree with your freedoms, God. Freedoms of the sovereignty of this nation. Freedom of the family of this nation. Freedom of, God, just the building up of each other even in these difficult times. We just agree with this and so devoted to you. You, our master that builds us in wisdom. Amen.